Ah, the smell of a new anime season. Smells a bit like Titans? Wait a minute, the fated day has come. Finally, after all this time, we're getting the second season to one of the most popular anime that's ever existed. It's been almost 4 years since we last seen this behemoth of a series, and boy do I remember when it was coming out. Everyone, and I mean everyone, was talking about it. Whether they were calling it the best thing of all time, an overhyped piece of garbage, or some point in between, you couldn't get anyone to stop talking about it. But it's been years, and I do mean years, since this anime has had a single episode. While the manga readers have had a consistent set of new stuff to read, I imagine the last couple of years have been a bit like this for most fans.
Hey look guys, it's Attack on Titan Season 2. Just like we always wanted, right guys? Right?
How did I pass the time? How did I manage to wait all this time for this next season? Well... Regardless of how late I am to the party, I really did enjoy Attack on Titan an absolute ton. It was such an amazingly paced series that kept me excited and enthralled throughout, and so regardless of how little I had to wait compared to everybody else, I have to say that it feels great to have it back. And you know, if the opening is anything to be looked at, I think the creators are glad to have it back as well. This time, I'm doing something a bit different. At some point I'll cover the more spoiler-ish aspects of the OP, but fret not because I'm analyzing this OP from a different perspective. You'll get what I mean soon. Regardless, this season has an absolutely amazing OP that, though it feels a bit different in tone than the previous ones, still manages to be great. I don't just mean it's amazing as an OP, but the overall feeling it gives off, the overall message it seems to be giving off is, welcome back to this wonderful, terrifying world of fighting, pain, death, and titans. Let's dig right in. The OP starts off very slow, almost quiet, which does feel a bit off compared to what you likely remember the previous OPs from the series being like. It starts off with a mother holding her child, and it's also a statue of some kind if you couldn't tell. Now, this first shot does everything in its power to give off a vibe that would usually be connected with religion. The look of the statue, the styling, and the obvious light pouring in from the edge of the screen give off a very godly feeling. Ironically enough, they didn't completely scrub this initial scene, as seen by the small, almost unnoticeable blotches of blood present in the shot at the bottom corner. Just before you can get comfortable, the OP's music blares loudly. The sudden jump is accompanied by the camera zooming out to reveal tons of titans coating the surrounding area. Around them is a completely destroyed town, and bits of blood can be seen. This jump is not only amazing from a shock value perspective, but also immediately tries to bring you back into the Attack on Titan mindset. This jump is set even further in the next shot, where tons of ordinary citizens, which you know they're ordinary citizens due to their clothing and lack of gear, are standing in front of an army of titans. The scene showcases that, despite the large number of humans, the titans are a much more dangerous force to be reckoned with, and that these people are likely all completely screwed. I mean, even the color of the scene is basically screaming at you that they are basically just a nice set of snacks for the titans to munch on. The literal snack that smiles, or screams, back. This is where the OP will begin to showcase a more interesting pattern of jumping between the titans and the soldiers to try and build as much of a contrast between the two situations. For example, in the next scene we find Eren getting ready for an encounter like this is, and he even takes the key to his basement that has been a huge focus during the first season. The lighting in this scene is much brighter, much happier, and much nicer than the previous and next scene, which features a much darker, harsher set of colors. This is likely building on a point that I brought up in my previous Attack on Titan video, that the OPs almost seem like they're made as propaganda for the soldiers themselves. The only difference is that, unlike the first and second OP, much more of the true nature of the fight against the Titans is showcased here. The next scene, for example, jumps to a harsher tone and shows two Titans walking forward, likely to go cause some serious trouble for the humans before jumping to showcase an even larger set of Titans roaming, all heading in the same direction. Their color will change again, however, as it jumps back to the soldiers, specifically Mikasa. She dons her signature scarf and begins heading out as well. Just to contrast again, the next scene showcases a burning town and Titans destroying it. The colors are even harsher in this scene, being only black, white, and the orange of the fire burning directly behind the Titan. The buildings are even falling apart, adding to the overall dreariness of this scene itself. And then again, it goes right back to the soldiers getting ready, being sure to showcase Levi himself alongside everyone's favorite potato-eating soldier. Heck, it even pans out to showcase even more soldiers getting ready. Now, why would they keep repeating this structure over and over? I mean, heck, the music has been repetitious throughout the scenes as well. Well, think about it. It's been years since the last season ended. It's trying to get you, the viewer, not only back into the action, but it's trying to do it in the most epic and exciting way possible. These characters haven't been fighting Titans for years, so just as they are literally getting themselves ready to rejoin the fight, the viewer is also figuratively getting ready to join the fight as well. It's like the anime itself held out its arms and shouted, "Welcome back, guys, it's been a while." Sadly, the next scenes are a bit more spoiler-filled than I'd like to dive into right now. Eren in Titan form is getting taken down by several other Titans, which is interesting because in truth, Eren's Titan form is extremely powerful. The show getting taken down not only illustrates the Titan form is defeatable, but that also, despite the fact that it's a huge asset for the humans, that doesn't necessarily mean they've won anything yet. Next is the Titan inside the wall, which is a pretty interesting clip to place since the first time you see this OP is right after realizing that this exact Titan is in the wall. Also, might I point out that two other things are interesting in this scene. Firstly, they went out of their way to completely entrench the Titan in darkness, trying to make this part of the scene look much more frightening. Yet, the light coming from the top corner of the screen is the literal exact same type used in the first scene. Most people likely know at this point that this typical angle and use of lighting is usually tied to godly types of symbolism. Huh, I wonder why they specifically choose to do that. I mean, I can't mention anything due to the fear of spoiling the anime for people, so I'm sorry. Suddenly, however, people are cheering on someone. Though you can clearly see the fear in the eyes of several of them, there's also this genuine hopeful feeling emanating from the scene. A sort of, "it'll be tough, but you guys got it" kind of feeling. And almost as if on cue, the soldiers being cheered on by the people begin heading towards the door, symbolizing going outside to fight the Titans. The lighting is so bright in this scene, and is of course doing the usual thing it's trying to do, in this case literally trying to cast the soldiers in a much brighter light. They set up their gear just as the Titans are causing even more destruction. It's been quite a while, but the soldiers are now finally able to go out and fight for humanity's existence. They are lined up together on the top of the wall. Considering the gazes of the characters and specifically how they are all aligned, the OP is trying to showcase their connection and their equal want to eradicate the Titans. They pull out their gear as the same heavenly light falls upon the soldiers, just in time for them to charge directly into battle with the Titans. Just to further their connection, the next scene showcases several flags bearing the crest lined up together, all swaying in the wind in the same way, before zooming out to showcase the soldiers lined up in a very similar way. This is a really cool visual connection, which gets even better when you realize the detail placed on every soldier. Inside each of them is one glowing heart that manages to break through the colors of the scene to stand out even more. The scene in every way is trying to connect each and every one of them in the fight against the Titans. Notice, however, that this peaceful sign is burned away as conflict begins. The peace is over and the true conflict has begun. And man, can I say that this next scene is so well animated. Like seriously, I know it's just fighting, but the sheer insanity of what's going on, both in the foreground and in the background, is insane, and builds so perfectly off of the whole connection symbolism that the OP has been trying to use during the last 20-ish seconds of the OP. Notice, however, that both of these two happen to have the same heart from earlier. In fact, the OP goes even farther to showcase tons of other creatures all featuring hearts. Everything from bugs to fish to dinosaurs. I mean, sure, dinosaurs, why not? Notice, however, that in between these scenes of animals, there are also several scenes of Titans causing trouble. Just before you can wonder whether the Titans will be given the same heart, a scene with hundreds of Titans alongside other creatures is shown, and yes, they all feature the same glowing heart. Almost as if the show is trying to emphasize that perhaps there's more to the Titans than we know, and that they themselves are also beings. I wonder why they'd showcase that. Wink, wink. Just as they run by, however, they trample and destroy a city that was previously populated by humans. And finally, Eren opens his eyes, perhaps opening his eyes to the last scene showing the Titans being portrayed as beings. It's almost as if the show is trying to get across that perhaps maybe the Titans aren't really the same villains the show tries to make them out to be. It's kind of a strange thing to do, And wouldn't it be interesting if we found out by the end of the whole series that really the humans were the villains? That this show was a literal attack on Titans? Wait a minute. Regardless, this OP is one of the most interesting OPs I've ever seen. Not only does it go out of its way to try and welcome you back to the terrifying world of Attack on Titan after all these years, but it also has several things left in it that may hint at some truths that we don't yet know. Regardless, this OP is just one part of this season that I hope turns out well for Attack on Titan. I genuinely hope that just like the first season, this one is able to attract all of our attention again. This opening is just a first step, and man, is it a wonderful and meaningful first step. I've missed you, Attack on Titan.